Hey, Mike with Rove Pest Control here. And are snow mosquitoes real? Well, today's post I'm going to answer that question and talk about some facts about snow mosquitoes you might not know. So you may not have heard of them before, and more often than not, you probably don't think of mosquitoes being involved with winter, but there actually are some mosquitoes out there that are considered snow mosquitoes that actually still stay active during the winter months. Now, one thing that typically happens with most mosquitoes is they usually go into a hibernation period, or for the most part die off during the winter months. Now, it doesn't mean that they all completely die off, because typically what happens is mosquitoes will lay their eggs in standing water, stagnant water. Again, could be around your home or could be in the wild. And what happens is typically as months start to get colder, it's transitioning from fall to winter, they will lay their eggs, and for most mosquitoes, their eggs can actually survive in frozen water. So those eggs will even go into more of a hibernation mode, and then as springtime comes, they'll start to thaw out, and again, as the weather warms up, those eggs will start to hatch and become active from there. Now, one big difference though is that with snow mosquitoes, they actually stick around during the winter months. So they either have a very tiny, small window that they go into hibernation, or they just stay active all year round. So one thing that can happen, like I said, is they tend to lay their eggs very late in the season, and then they actually hatch very early in the season. In some cases, there's actually still snow on the ground, making them what they call, again, snow mosquitoes. Now, another aspect though is some of these mosquitoes do stay active and tend to go into more of a hibernation mode during the winter, where, like I said, some mosquitoes will die off, while others will seek out locations that are warmer. So it might be in your home, in the attic, in sheds, near warm areas that are heated during the winter. And they'll basically lay flat on these surfaces because the mosquitoes are cold-blooded, so they can't typically survive out and about. But when laying and being in contact with these surfaces, they can go into hibernation mode. And typically, again, female mosquitoes are what feed on the blood. Males usually don't. They'll be feeding off of nectar and flowers and sugars, different things like that. But sometimes what can happen is these females will switch and start to feed on those nectar and flower sources, sugar type sources, and what happens is they'll kind of beef up, right? They'll double in size, they'll get a lot bigger, and then they do that before they go into this hibernation period so they can actually survive through the winter. So that's typically what happens with most mosquitoes. Now, what's interesting is with these snow mosquitoes, they usually are found in the northern United States and also throughout parts of Canada. You usually won't see them though, because they like to live in forests, because again, the females are going to be feeding off of mammals that are active during the winter months, also birds, and then the males are going to be scrounging for whatever type of sugar, nectar type food sources they could find it as well during the winter. So they're kind of dwindling in numbers. They have been put on, in some cases, an endangered species list of mosquitoes, so they're not really huge numbers all over the place, but they are out and about during the winter in some months as well. Kind of another unique place that sometimes these mosquitoes have found to lay their eggs or hibernate is actually inside of pitcher plants. Now, usually these pitcher plants, what they'll do is they'll create that nectar, that sweet food source that mosquitoes and other insects like to kind of draw those pests in, but then once they're inside, they'll close their lid and then again eat and digest those insects as food sources. But sometimes what these mosquitoes actually do is they'll lay their eggs in that substance inside of these pitcher plants, and then it can freeze over the winter, and then again they can come out when things start to warm up. And sometimes it's very early in the season because it's been sheltered from some of the elements by being inside of that pitcher plant. Now again, one interesting thing that snow mosquitoes can do, some of the species and varieties, they can actually have a way of eliminating excess fluids from their body. So again, as temperatures drop lower and lower, typical mosquitoes would die off or need to go into hibernation. Since they're cold-blooded, they would just freeze to death. But what's neat with these mosquitoes is since they can eliminate a lot of the fluids in their body, the temperature that they require to, I guess, freeze or die off during the winter gets much, much lower, so they can actually still be around and active during the colder winter months. So it's pretty interesting that these mosquitoes do exist. Again, obviously they are more few and far between, and like I said, they're mostly going to be hanging out in northern states, in the wilderness, in the woods, as well as in Canada and different higher elevation places like that. So you can still actually run into some mosquitoes during the winter and encounter these snow mosquitoes as they are out and about. But for the most part, you're probably not going to see many mosquitoes during the winter months unless you're hanging out in the deep woods in the northern parts of Canada and the northern parts of the United States. But it's interesting that these mosquitoes can still be around even with the extreme colder temperatures that does kill off most mosquitoes. So again, hopefully you got some benefit and value out of this video, got some interesting knowledge on mosquitoes you didn't know exist. So if you did, feel free to comment and share. And if you do happen to be having pest issues around your home, feel free to reach out to us over at rovepestcontrol.com. And then also as a first-time customer, you can go on over to rovepestcontrol.com/50 off to get your $50 discount on your first service with us. So if you're a brand new customer or you have existing issues with pests, feel free to reach out to us at rovepestcontrol.com. And then once again, to get that great discount as a first-time customer, you can go to rovepestcontrol.com/50 off. But again, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you more soon.